Superhero movies aren't usually considered as high culture, but there is more to it than meets the eye, according to two scientists that have, if you ask me, an unhealthy fascination for the genre at hand. Tonight we are going to beyond bullets, bombs and babes, and we'll discuss what superhero movies can learn us with regard to physics, biology, anthropology and theology. Please welcome Etienne, Augé and Barry Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Actually, we would like to be known as the Celtic scholars. That's we're a team now.
I agree. I also.
Yeah. Is it Celtic or Celtic?
I would say Celtic.
Celtic.
Yeah.
Celtic scholars.
I heartily endorse this branding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Celtic.
Yeah. So forget the names. Just Celtic scholars.
Wait.
The Celtic scholars.
We're both Celtic scholars. How
yeah.
Celtic Scholar 1, Celtic Scholar 2.
Great.
Yeah.
No,
Celtic Scholar 1,
Celtic Scholar 2. 1 is working at TU Delft in the field of chemical engineering, somewhat, right?
In process and energy in the 3ME department.
Yada.
So I'm a physicist.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Great. Yeah, we'll talk superhero movies. That's way more interesting. Etienne, you're in the field of cultural and political communication, specialized in propaganda, intercultural communication, among others. We will talk the hard science with you, the more soft science with you. Is that the way to go?
Not really, but yeah,
okay.
Like you say. And I love this show because it's the only show we can say fuck and shit, and you guys have been saying that all evening, so let's just fucking do it.
Yeah, we will.
I won't be joining in that.
Okay, so no matter your backgrounds are slightly different, but you have something in common. You're both a huge fan of superhero movies. Barry, you wrote a book called Secrets of Superhero Science. Etienne, you did something as well in French.
That is in French, yeah.
This is also very readable.
Very, thank you.
I can tell you.
Great promotion.
No, okay, all fun aside, guys. Barry, the first time you watched a superhero movie, do you remember?
Yes, the first one I saw was the Superman film from 1978.
You were at that time?
I was about 5 years old. I was a huge fan of the A-Team. And I had my A-Team van, I had B.A. Baracus, I had Hannibal Smith. I see Superman come on TV, and I push it to the side because suddenly I see somebody who can fly. And yeah, I want to fly.
And the fascination, which is not unusual, I guess, for a young boy of that age, but it didn't go away, right?
No, not at all. No.
Why not?
I suppose we see superheroes either in TV, in cartoons, or in comic books, and the one thing that I think is in common between them all is they all do things that we don't normally see in the everyday world. And when I saw, as I say, Superman be able to fly, or Iron Man wearing an Iron Man suit, these are all things that I would like to. Hey, yeah, and that's me right there. Yeah. And the caption on the back screen basically encapsulates what I've been doing since then, and that's dreaming of superpowers.
Yeah, you're not only dreaming of superpowers, you're actually publishing academic papers on it, right?
Yes, that's right. I just recently published a paper about. Etienne would say that he wouldn't be a superhero, but I think he's one of the forgotten superheroes, and that's Hawkeye.
He sucks.
From the Avengers. Hawkeye's awesome.
Okay, for people who are not very into superhero movies or the Avengers, Hawkeye is?
Hawkeye's played by the actor Jeremy Renner, and Hawkeye could be viewed as the Robin Hood of the Avengers. He's the guy with the bow and arrow. He's the guy with advanced physiological abilities, such as he has advanced reflexes, and the key to his abilities is his eyesight.
Okay, we have a short clip of Hawkeye.
Just to introduce it, this is a 4-second clip, 5 seconds from The Avengers from 2012, a film I've seen more than 50 times. I've based an entire chapter in my book on this clip, and the paper I wrote is based on this clip.
Okay, let's have a look.
I got him.
Okay, now we'll dive into the serious science behind this.
Yes.
Go on.
So, what you saw there is you saw Jeremy Renner playing Hawkeye standing on a building on Park Avenue in New York City. And he's facing down 42nd Street. And from his perch, as his name, the Hawkeye, we get a glimpse into his advanced eyesight when that camera shows you that zoomed-in image. I think it's the only point in all of the films that we've seen Hawkeye in thus far that we get an impression of how his eyesight works. So that got me thinking, what is a scientific explanation for what he can do? So I looked at the animal kingdom, and I look at, well, the species he's named after. I looked at hawks. Now, I have a fascination with hawks, not only because of superheroes, but also my father races pigeons, and I've seen those pigeons been attacked many times by hawks or falcons. Now, the hawk or falcon, the reason that they're able to be such a good hunter is that their eyesight is exceptional. And there are many aspects about their eyesight that are different from our eyesight. They're able to focus on objects that are further away. They're able to track two objects at the same time, and they have a denser number of light detector cells in their eyes that allows them to have this increased resolution. In my opinion, Hawkeye has every single one of these, and that is why he is a superhero.
And this is basically what you do, right? So you look at a superhero character, a movie, and you go deconstructing it, and you find the science behind it. You find actually I think your message is there's always more truth in superhero movies than we might think.
Absolutely, like superhero films first and foremost. I believe many of them, there are exceptions, which myself and Etienne will agree on, that are not as entertaining as they could be. But
could you give one example?
Of a not an entertaining...
A very overrated superhero movie?
Overrated?
Or from an academic perspective, then?
Wow, that's a very good question. An overrated superhero film?
All the Batman by Nolan.
I love all the Batmans by Nolan, but...
You hate the Batman films?
I love the Batman film by Tim Burton. I think it's the greatest one. I don't think there was a need for Nolan to destroy the myth.
And they became very popular, right? The Christopher Nolan
but
movies.
sometimes people are not always right.
Okay. I heartily disagree with my colleague.
You may. Etienne, your approach is slightly different. You come from cultural sciences. What is your approach of superhero movies?
For me, I'm also a fan, obviously, just like Barry. I grew up with that. Although it was a bit of shame of liking them, because then you will be called a nerd. I didn't like that.
And everybody around you, you come from France, was watching Godard and Truffaut and Nouvelle Vague.
And eating camembert. Can you say camembert? Okay. And so my approach is more, how is it that now it's hugely popular in the sense that when we're young, liking superheroes was clear sign of being a geek or nerd, however you want to call it. And now it's actually cool. I mean, all the cool people that watch that. It became
totally mainstream.
It's totally mainstream now, and it's making a lot of money. It's making big bucks. I mean, those movies are definitely big bucks. So for me, it was more a way to come back to superheroes without being too ashamed of it and actually studying them for my job. Greatest job on earth. And so then I can watch a lot of movies and try to analyze and understand why is it that people are going to enjoy those movies. And since we have this rebirth of superheroes recently, I'm also trying to understand what are the reasons in real life that we need those superheroes again.
Yeah. For example, one of the films you find interesting is Thor.
Yep.
Why is that?
Well, because in a nutshell, Jesus was crucified and Thor as a hammer. Basically, what I find really interesting is that you could not have like a superhero called Jesus or one called Muhammad. It will be impossible. But surprisingly, you can have one called Thor. And I really like the myth of Thor. I mean, I was interested in the myth even before the superheroes. I think, well, the movie, the latest one, Ragnarok, is interesting, but it's sort of making fun of Thor in a pretty blasphemous way. If he was like a different god, a Hindu god or anything, then people would probably be in the streets and bird theaters. But I think it's very interesting that you can take a Thor, a god that was truly worshipped by people from back in the day. Even today, you have like 60, 70,000 people which still believe in Thor and Odin and whatnot. And it's completely okay. You couldn't do that with Muhammad or Hindu or anything else.
It's our way of society's way of being blasphemic in a acceptable way. Is that what you're saying?
In a safe way also, because I think again nobody's going to burn down a theater because they say, "Oh, you're making fun of Thor," when any other god would probably provoke this kind of wrath from people. I understand.
Yeah. Why are you not a fan of Hawkeye?
Well, because basically he doesn't have any... He's like the guy that, you know, when you have a bunch of friends and you're all there for a reason, then this guy, you know, and he tags along with you, and you don't really like him, but you sort of find him pathetic. So you say, okay, come with us, you can save the world, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, you have Thor, you have Hulk, you have all those guys who have amazing power, and then you have Hawkeye who can shoot arrows. I'm sorry, but no, I don't really buy it.
I think he's great. I really do.
Barry, you said you watched the Avengers 50 times.
Yeah, probably 60 at this stage.
Okay,
yeah.
How does that work?
So what you do is you watch it the first time and you enjoy it, and that's fantastic. And then every other time after that, you watch it as a point of research from 2 points of view. You know, I'm a scientist, so when I'm working on something new, and I find someone's new work, I'll read their paper once, and then if it's really of relevance to my work, I'll read it a number of times afterwards.
You never read an academic paper for 60 times, right?
Maybe 10, that's as many as it gets. But I mean,
still,
this
the
is
Avengers got treated
60 times, far more enjoyable, because every time I watch the Avengers, and on the screen we see Avengers Infinity War, a film that I think I'm most wholeheartedly looking forward to. But every time you look at these films, every time I look at these films, I see something new. I see something new in terms of the plot, because Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe like to hide these Easter eggs, kind of hinting at what they might do in the future films. But scientifically speaking, I see things that I missed the first time.
Can you give
or
an
the
example?
10 times.
What came up the 35th time you watched the Avengers?
So the Hawkeye example is very, very good, because when I watched the Hawkeye, I think it was the 37th, if I was going to be exact. In one scene in Hawkeye, you see him tracking two objects at the same time. So he's holding his arrow, he's following an object, and then he starts to follow another object, and then he fires the arrow, which he was firing at the first object. Now, birds of prey are able to track two objects at the same time. And this was seen in a 5-second scene, which I missed the first 35 times.
Okay.
And then I see this, and I go, wow, that's fantastic.
Do you watch them at home?
Yes, I do, yes. Yeah. I'll give you an example. I think it was recently I was cooking on a Sunday, and I just said, you know what, I'll put it on in the background. I can walk around my apartment, and I can actually almost literally, word for word, give you the dialogue of the whole film. That's the stage.
Do you have any roommates or pets? Or
I run, so that's a hobby. I don't have a pet, no, but I run, so that gets me away from the superhero films every now and then.
Okay. Etienne, you said that Thor is interesting to look at. Another movie you said it's interesting to look at is Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Why?
For obvious reasons. Gal Gadot. She's very good looking, I would say.
Okay.
But most of that, I would say it's probably the first time that a woman is actually she's taken very, there she is. She's taken very seriously in the role, in the sense that she's really a superheroine. She's not a sidekick. Mm-hmm. Even in Batman vs. Superman, which was, I think we'll agree, a train wreck. She was probably the only thing, she was the only thing that sort of saved the movie. She also saved the boys. And for the first time, we had like a character that is truly powerful, a character that doesn't depend on men, a character that is truly like a modern woman. I'd say maybe a trans-modern, post-modern woman. I don't exactly know. But definitely she's carrying the whole movie also. And it's not a boring movie at all. It's not directed at a certain audience, let's say, like it's for women who would like to see a superhero, and it's for absolutely everyone. So I would say it's not a revolution, but it's a very positive evolution.
Okay. And as a cultural sociologist, would you say this is something that describes a development that's going on in a society, so it's getting more acceptable for a woman to be in the lead, or is it something that gets things done? Is it something that after this, does it have a function in that way? A superhero, a female superhero. Does it lead to? Is it a revolution on its way after this movie comes out? Or
right, first of all, I'm not a cultural sociologist. I'm a historian. It's quite different.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, I feel a bit okay. Just give me a second. I'm really emotional now. I think, no, again, it's not really a revolution, because if you think about it also, a character, Wonder Woman, she's based also on old Greek goddesses. And at the time, Greek goddesses, for instance, Zeus, when Hera would tell her to go back home, he would actually listen to her. So I think it's more like returning to the roots. I think for quite some centuries, unfortunately, we had to consider that women were fragile, were weak little creatures and whatnot, which is not the case if you look, for instance, at ancient Greece and all other stories, other mythologies. So I think we go back the roots. We actually try to erase, to a certain extent, the male domination. We see that in society. I think it's something very positive. We also see that with superheroes. I think Wonder Woman will be the first one of many more to come, for sure.
Talking about emancipation, one of your other favorites, and a movie that still has to come out, I think in 2 weeks, right, is Black Panther.
Absolutely, yeah.
Any of you looking forward to Black Panther? Superhero movies, fans in the back, some nodding by Simone here on the front.
Are 2 guys actually excited. Two people.
2 people.
The rest is that, whatever.
Well, make them enthusiastic about it.
It's awesome. You should see it. It's really awesome.
Okay.
One thing I should say about the balance that you were talking about there in terms of the superhero representation in terms of female leads. So you've got Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is coming out in July, and then next year you've got Captain Marvel, who's probably the most powerful. I think she would probably rival Wonder Woman in terms of her abilities, played by Brie Larson. That's going to be coming out next year. But the other thing is that many people actually overlook with the superhero films is that in these films, and particularly in Black Panther, many of the prominent scientists in the films are female. So Natalie Portman plays Jane Foster. She's an astrophysicist in Thor. You have Helen Choi, who's in Avengers Age of Ultron. She builds an advanced 3D bioprinting device. And in this film, you have Black Panther's sister, who's the smartest person on the planet. In the most technologically advanced country.
Emancipation in the works in mainstream culture.
Mm-hmm. It is. Well, it's also because the studios now, they're making a lot of money and they also want to diversify, obviously. So they want to expand, they want to appeal to more people. But it should be said that Black Panther is actually not African-American. He's an African superhero. I'm not sure that the purpose of Marvel and Walt Disney is to extend to get the African continent, but I think it's also a sign of openness to say, well, look, we also consider that superheroes should not be the usual white males for sure. And you saw that also in the first Thor when it was more for reasons of political correctness, but actually Idris Elba was playing one of the Nordic gods, which kind of looked weird during the movie. But obviously, I would say it's a conjunction of many different factors. The fact that society evolves, Hollywood blockbusters also have to evolve, and the fact that also they want to cater to a larger market also. Never forget that if we speak about superheroes in Hollywood, you also speak about lots of money.
Yeah. Barry, we have to talk one more topic, and that is that you did something with Spider-Man.
I did do something related to Spider-Man, yeah. So I have some friends who are involved in bioart, and bioart is the combination of biological design or measurements or devices with art. And I have a colleague who has a company in Maastricht called In Micro, and they were able to take a sample of my blood, and they put it under a scanning electron microscope, and he rang me up and said, hey, you know what, we want to make you a superhero-themed image. I said, okay, what are you going to do? He said, do you like Spider-Man? Yeah, I say, he's pretty cool. Yeah, I like Spider-Man. So what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to surprise you. And he said, right, I'm going to do this image, and then I'll contact you. So he came back to me a few weeks later. He sent me an email, and then he sent me, I think, this image, which you're going to see, I hope, on the screen in a moment, which is my...
It's not this one.
It's not this one, but I can tell you a story. Actually, this is interesting because
what's the goat doing
so
here?
the goat. Actually, this is another story because there's somebody I know in Eindhoven, Jalilia Saidi from BioArt Laboratories, and basically she's developed a bulletproof spider silk human skin, and that's where you take human skin cells and combine it with spider silk. Now, unfortunately, it's impossible to take enough spider silk out of spiders because they're quite small. So what they'd used was spider silk produced by genetically modified goats. So that's goats that have been modified in such a way that their DNA includes the DNA of spiders. So when you milk the goat, not only does it produce the milk, but it also produces the protein behind spider silk. So I always ask the question when I do any talk anywhere, how many people here would drink the milk? Hands up. Anybody?
Same person that wants to see Black Panther.
If I tell you that spiders...
A couple of them in the back.
Good,
over there,
good,
yeah.
because spider silk is not toxic. It's perfectly safe. The guy who has these goats, he drinks the milk. It's perfectly safe for him. That's a little aside. But on terms of the bioart image, which is the bulletproof spider silk skin is actually a bioart project. What my friend did for me is he took my blood and he put it with spider silk and put it under a scanning electron microscope and produced a marvelous piece of bioart. Which I have in my apartment. It's 1 meter high and 1.5 meters long, and it shows my blood cells and my white blood cells with spider silk. And I use this.
But wasn't secretly the attempt to find out if you could become Spider-Man in the same way Spider-Man became Spider-Man?
I don't want to say that in front of this audience because there may be ethical people who will question my reasons, and then I'll be deemed to be some sort of a villain, a supervillain, per se. But that'll be our little secret. Potentially.
Okay. But what is, considering these weird experiments, what is next on your list? What would you like to do if you had the opportunity, considering the endless possibilities in the world of superheroes?
And the world of technology, of course, to try and because superheroes is
Are you dreaming of your own Iron Man suit?
It's funny you say that. Yes, I am. Yes, because I see the superhero films as a portal not only to inspire and empower, but also to influence and provide innovation ideas for the next generation of scientists and engineers. So it's a hugely fascinating area that can change the fabric about how researchers think, and it's changed as a researcher how I think.
Could you give one? Is there an example of something that NASA developed, for example, of the American Army or the Dutch Army? I don't know if they look at superhero movies a lot, but that's something that they derive from superhero movies.
I do know of a company based in Delft who are making exoskeleton suits. And the exoskeleton suit is a suit that a person can wear that allows them to do things they wouldn't normally be able to do without the same suit. That may be to walk further, to carry larger objects or larger loads, to be stronger. Now, most of these suits are developed for health purposes, to allow people who can't walk to walk again, just like Project March, a team in TU Delft, who are building an exoskeleton suit to allow people who have mobility issues to walk again without having to rely on just a wheelchair for mobility. But there is a group in Delft who are building an exoskeleton suit in relation and in collaboration with the Ministry of Defence, I believe. And the idea is that the soldiers can wear the suit and they can walk further and travel faster and carry more with this particular suit. Now that suit is the foundations of an Iron Man suit.
Okay.
So you got to start somewhere.
Did you ever go to a superhero movie together?
No, I'm afraid not.
Would you be able to, considering your different approaches?
I don't know, because I watched The Avengers once and I got the movie. I didn't need to watch it again. So I'm not sure, but I think, yeah, maybe we can do that. Maybe we can do that. What do you want to watch?
Well, I mean, there's a big film coming out in 3 months' time, Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's because Thanos is coming, and I want to see how big and bad this guy is.
Yeah, I will watch it for different reasons, but we'll watch it together. You have us again in a year, and then we will let you know about our experience together.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you so much.
Celtic
Scholars.
Etienne, Augé, and Barry Fitzgerald.
Thank you.
Thank you.